understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax.
Okay, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for everybody for being here. It is afternoon now. Please turn your cell phones off. So here's what we're going to do here today. We're going to have a statement by Chief Todd Garrison of the Northport Police Department, followed by Gabby's father, Joe Petito. After Joe speaks, he's not going to take any questions. Chief Garrison will take a few questions, and we'll do the best we can on that. So, Chief Todd Garrison, thank you.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Todd Garrison. I am the Chief of Police of the City of Northport. Today we're here to talk about Gabby. Gabby was a resident of, or is a resident of Northport. And Northport is a close-knit community where what happens is felt by all. We are here today to provide an update to Gabby Petito, who was reported missing on September 11th, 2001. In June of 2021, Gabby and her fiancé embarked on a cross-country trip with plans to travel across the West Coast and visit state national parks in the western United States. They were traveling in Gabby's 2012 white Ford van and documented their journey on YouTube and social media. We have a picture of the white Ford van that they were traveling in. She maintained regular contact with her family members during her travels. However, that communication abruptly stopped around the end of August. Gabby is a vibrant 22-year-old with a love for life and adventure. She's a daughter, a sister, and a granddaughter. She was excited to share her cross-country trek with others on social media and with her family. Gabby's family and those in the community here and in New York who know and care for her are hoping for answers about her whereabouts. We have investigators working diligently around the clock, as well as with the FBI. The FBI is present here today to show their solidarity and commitment to this investigation, and we are grateful for all their resources. Due to the geographic scope of the investigation, it's important that we partner with our federal and local partners. At this time, I'm going to allow Joe, Gabby's dad, to come up and say a few words.
All right, what I need from everybody here is help, because the goal is still not met, and that goal is to bring Gabby home safe, all right? And I'm asking for help from everyone here. I'm asking for help everyone at home. I'm asking for help from the parents of Brian, and I'm asking for help of the family members and friends of the Laundrie family as well. You know, there is a tip line that you can call anonymously. Whatever you can do to make sure my daughter comes home, I'm asking for that help. There's nothing else that matters to me now. This girl right here, this is what matters. That is it. Anything else, it comes second to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Our focus is to finding Gabby, and we are pleading with people out there to give us information, point us in the direction that we need to be, and help us find Gabby. Gabby and her family deserve that. Right now, I'll go ahead and answer a few questions that I can. Go ahead.
Yesterday, you reached out on Twitter to Laundrie's attorney. Have you heard from him yet?
I have not.
Is there any criminality suspected in the case, or is this just a missing person?
Right now, we are missing person case.
Chief, how frustrating is it knowing that the family lives just a short distance away from the police department here? I'm sure your officers have to drive by his house, and to know that he hasn't given you any clues.
Well, we share the frustration with the world right now. So, you know, 2 people went on a trip, 1 person returned, and that person that returned isn't providing us any information.
Chief, can you bring Brian Laundrie in for hindering the investigation or for stealing Gabby's car?
Right now, no.
Have you guys learned anything from the van or from the phones at all?
Right now, we're still analyzing all that data, which takes time to forensically analyze all that.
Is the Bodycam video out of Moab? Is that offering any sort of insight into maybe what potentially happened? Are you using that as part of your investigation?
We look at everything that's coming in. As far as that having to do anything with the disappearance, we don't know. I mean, yes, they had a disturbance. Yes, it was captured on body camera, their interaction with law enforcement. But beyond that, you know, I don't know what it has to do with the disappearance.
Do you guys know when exactly Brian left and headed for Florida? We know he came here on the 1st, but do you know when he left from the West Coast, and if there's any indication that Gabby was with him on that trek back?
Right now, we're analyzing that data, so we don't have that timeline narrowed down. There's a lot of information that we have to go through.
Do you know where Brian Laundrie is right now?
Yes.
Chief, has the family attorney said anything at all to you during your interaction?
The family attorney arranged to get us some property that we were looking for, and Beyond that, no.
Nicole Schmidt said that she last spoke with her daughter on August 30th, or at least someone she was purporting to be her daughter. Has any forensics been done on her phone? Have the phone records been requested? Have they been provided?
Everything is being forensically analyzed right now, and it takes time.
Including Nicole's phone?
No, we don't have Nicole's phone.
And have you requested it?
Requested from who?
From her.
Oh, I'm sorry, from Nicole's phone. I'm sorry. I don't have the answer to that as far as that.
At this point in the investigation, is Wyoming still the last place that she was known to be?
Right now, it seems to be the area that we're looking at.
What would it take in your investigation to bring Brian in?
Right now, this is a missing person case, all right? And our focus is to find Gabby. My focus isn't to bring Brian in right now, it's to find Gabby. Brian is exercising his constitutional rights, and I have to respect. This isn't to bring Brian in right now, it's to find Gabby. Brian is exercising his constitutional rights, and I have to respect that. But as of right now, the focus is finding Gabby.
Well, she's been missing for 2 weeks and possibly being in danger. Why does he get the privilege to tell you no, that he's not coming in to speak to you?
Because the Constitution protects that.
Where are search teams looking currently? And are they law enforcement-led search teams?
We have no physical search teams on the ground like doing grid search right now. We have resources and law enforcement partners that are out in the field following up tips and leads. But as far as a grid search right now, we're still trying to narrow down geographic areas.
And do we know the exact date and exact, confirmed location that she was?
We're still
There's
analyzing
been,
that.
some say Salt Lake City, some say the national park.
You know, the information, there's a lot of information coming through. We have to analyze that information, we have to vet that information, and it takes time.
Gene, is there any history of police interacting with Brian here in Northport, or any incident involving Brian and Gabby here in Northport before they went on this trip? I know that they've been here a couple of years now.
No,
Was she on any kind of medication?
not that I know of.
And was Northport Police aware of her mental health issues before the Moab report came out?
I'm not aware of any of them.
Are you able to tell us what you found in the van? I know yesterday you said you were not.
No, right now, the data, the stuff that we found in the van is being analyzed. I don't know if it has any evidentiary value to it or not. Obviously, this was a van used by the both of them, which personal belongings and stuff are in there. Whether or not it has anything to do with the case, we don't know.
I know you tweeted at the attorney. How frustrating is this for you personally?
I want to bring Gabby home, you know. So, of course it's frustrating.
And he answered us. We asked him about your tweet, and he said no comment. Your response, sir?
Where's Gabby? That's my response.
No, emotionally for you, as a father, as a human being, talk about what this case is triggering for you.
This isn't about me. This is about Gabby, and that's where I want to keep the focus.
No, I know, but, just looking at her face, talking with her family, how is this, does that, elicit any response from you to try harder?
It's driving us to keep working. I mean, long hours, long days. It gives us the momentum to keep going forward.
Have any of the social media platforms reached out to your agency as part of the investigation and offered up any of the metadata?
We have great cooperation with the social media platforms out there.
How difficult is it, as you guys are here, she possibly went missing over there, geographically speaking, how difficult is that for the investigation?
We have partners federally and locally that we can reach out and touch. One of the reasons of asking the assistance of the FBI to come in is they have a long-reaching arm. So I'm confident with what we're doing here and the tips and the information that's being funneled out west. I'm confident that system is moving effectively.
Two more questions.
The Petito family said yesterday that what happened in Wyoming happened. It indicates that they know that something did occur in Wyoming and that there's information that we're not aware of or that's not being given to us and maybe being withheld from you. Do you know what happened in Wyoming? Do you know what they meant?
The fact of the matter is, Gabby is missing, and I think that's what they're referring to.
Of course, but
Gabby's missing.
this is a huge investigation. You have internet press from all across the country here, and if there's something that's part of the story that's not being told, I think the public has a duty to understand that.
You're looking into something that's not there. I think what the family's position on it was she went missing. The last area was out in Wyoming. So She's not here, so where is she?
Now, Utah police aren't ruling out, it's really tough to talk about, but they're not ruling out any connection to possible homicides that happened there as well. Have you guys looked into that? Is there anything you can tell us in relation to that?
We have communication going back and forth with Grand County Sheriff's Office. We provided them with whatever information we could. They don't have any suspect information right now, so you would have to refer that to them, but they told us that they're looking at everything at this point.
Kim, one last question.
It's still a missing person case at this point in time, but is there any evidence suggesting that a crime may have occurred between the two of them?
Right now, no. Right now, all we have is the missing person investigation on that.
Okay.
Really simple question. You said you know where Brian is. Is he at his parents' house?
All I'm going to say is I know where Brian's at.
All right. Thank you,
guys.
everyone. You can certainly follow up with us, me. You all seem to have my phone, so call and we'll answer any follow-up questions. Thank you.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Buno.
The FBI, Northport Police share an update on the disappearance of Gabby Petito, the Florida 22-year-old who went missing on a cross-country road trip with her fiancé, now a person of interest, as new body camera video here reveals a little bit more into what happened on the road between the couple. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. We're still asking you to share to help in the search for Gabby Petito, the Northport woman who is still hopefully out there. Great to be joined here by 8 on your side, investigator Masa Saidi here on the right side of your screen. Team coverage here with you folks on WFLA Now. We're going to get into some of the comments here. Of course, for those of you who have been with us here before on WFLA Now, in the Facebook Live comment section, you can use hashtag HeyMasa, hashtag HeyJB, and we'll feature some of your comments. We'll feature some of your questions here on screen. We're about to play out this video that is rolling here in the center of your screen, this body camera video that we received from Utah police showing what happened after a fight between Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, the couple on the road there in late August. Before we play this out for you, Masa, what did we learn here in this press conference a short time ago?
So we actually learned some new information. So police know where Brian is right now. They are not telling us. Reporters were asking, is he at his parents' home? And they would not tell us. But they do know where Brian is right now. As of right now, he is still not cooperating with this investigation. We also learned that police are not doing a physical search, a grid search on the ground. They have received so many tips and leads from across the country. So right now they are working those tips, they are working those leads, but they are not physically looking for her, frankly, because as the reporters were trying to figure out where was she last seen exactly, when was the last time she was seen, they didn't have any clear indication there regarding that. We also know they are working with social media platforms as well. We learned that Brian did not have any history with police down in Northport. Just taking a look at my notes to see.
You know,
and a lot of the biggest question the reporters were asking is, why are you not forcing Brian to come in? The chief was repeatedly pressed on that. They want him to come in. They've asked him to come in. And the chief basically said, right now, this is not a crime. We are just investigating a missing persons case. He talked about the constitutional rights that Brian has. So as of right now, they are not bringing Brian in. And earlier today on another network, the chief also said that they are not trying to get a search warrant for Brian's home, for the boyfriend's home here in Northport that he shares with his parents. We know that they are looking at the van, the white van that these two were in as they were traveling across country. We also learned that they are analyzing some elements from inside that van. It's unclear if those elements are going to have any evidentiary value. They would not tell us what they are analyzing right now. So a ton of questions, a lot of frustration from reporters trying to understand why Brian can basically not be forced to come in at this point. We know the FBI was there as well. They did not make any statement. We thought they would, but they did not. Go ahead.
So what did we learn here in this press conference? We learned a couple of small nuggets of information, but more than anything, the headline here on this press conference is that They are still hopeful that Gabby is out there. They're asking for people to, of course, help. They're pleading for the public's help. You heard from Petito's father, who, of course, has spoken to 8 on Your Side. And, the family has been, very, very available as far as, offering interviews to make sure that they are doing everything that they can at every hour of the day to try to get Gabby home safely. The one thing, we're about to play back this clip here for you folks. I know that a lot of folks are tuning in here to see this clip that we have here for you. We're going to listen to the audio here in just a second. But the big thing that I think that we learn here, the big question, and again, we can feature our first #HeyJB, #HeyMasa comment here. Angela Gianna saying in the Facebook Live comment section, #HeyJB, is he being charged with taking her van? Now remember, we learned in the last several days that when they left from Long Island on this cross-country road trip, the van, thank you, July 2nd, the van that you just saw there on the screen is in her name. So the van was then driven from Wyoming, from Utah, from that area of the country back to Florida and was in front of Brian's home, the home here in Northport, Florida. So people have been asking, and Angela has been asking, if he left that area with the van that was in her name, can he be charged with taking the van and at least bring him in for questioning to ask him the questions that are on everyone's mind? Where is Gabby? Where did you last see Gabby? What happened to Gabby Petito? That question was asked by one of the reporters, Masa, and the exact answer by the police chief there was no, that they don't have enough right now to charge Brian with anything to bring him in. And as you said, the Constitution of the United States protects Brian from being questioned without, of course, being charged with a crime, So a lot of people asking, how are we going to get Brian in for questioning? And right now, still, behind his attorney, who's only offering statements here and there.
And to answer Angela's question, you would only be able to potentially charge Brian if she was around, alive, reported that her van was missing. At this point, this is a couple. They were engaged to be married. And so you can't charge him with being in possession of the van. It's not like Gabby reported that her van was stolen by her now estranged ex. That's not the situation. So
the two
no to that, Angela.
Engaged to be married. Okay, so let's play back this clip. Now let's explain what happened here. In late August, Utah police were called to...
August 12th.
Yes, August 12th. You want to set this up here, Masa? Yeah.
So this is new body camera video that, as JB mentioned, we just got this morning. This is from an incident that happened on August 12th in Moab City, Utah. This is days before she was last seen. A witness made a 911 call outside a convenience store. Apparently these two had gotten into some sort of an argument. When officers arrived, she was visibly upset. You can see that she is visibly upset. She was crying, she was shaking. It's important to note that the police report said that she is the one that had hit Brian in the face, and there was also some scratches on Brian's face to confirm that that incident had happened, and police said this was less of a domestic incident and more of a mental, emotional health break. No charges happened that night. The two were separated, and we know that they got back together at some point, JB.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is, what we did is we enhanced this audio so that we can hear it as best as possible. You can clearly see that there's text here on screen. We're going to play back this clip here for you. This is some of the snippets of the body camera footage. Masa, the entire footage is about an hour long. These are just a couple of snippets that we were able to pull out in time here for this live stream and this press conference that began at noon Eastern. But what we're going to do is we're going to play a couple of these snippets. We'll be back in 90 seconds. In the meantime, I'll keep my eye here. It's scrolling up here. Jason, Lori, Anna, a lot of Facebook Live commenters. If you want your comment featured here on screen when we come back here in about 90 seconds, use #HeyJB, #HeyMasa with your comment.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? No. What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me something.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
All right, so that's the clip here. Yeah, emotional. Emotional because it's been emotional for a lot of us here. You know, we're hoping that Gabby is found alive. We're seeing Gabby here in obvious distress, and what we're hoping for is the exact opposite, that Gabby is found and that she can live a long, happy life. So to see her in these moments when she's clearly had a considerable amount of tension with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie here, and this showing one of the worst days here of her road trip, when clearly there were a lot of happy memories. If you go to her YouTube page, if you go to Instagram, there's a lot of happy moments between these two on the road when they left from New York and they got out to, you know, Grand Teton National Park, where she was last known to be. And but to see her here in this moment, this is a complete 180 from what we saw on social media. And it is a cautionary tale that what we see on social media is only a fraction of what actually goes on in a relationship between two people. Of course we post the highlights. Of course we post the good stuff. This is what we obviously we don't see that's posted on social media. And Masa, this tells now a completely different story. And I know you're going to be combing through a lot of this body camera video to hopefully find more clues as to what happened here.
Yeah, that's right, JB. So what we saw in that body camera video, as you said, she was clearly in distress. She was clearly upset. I haven't watched the video in its entirety yet. I will do that. It's an hour-long video, but in other parts of the video, she's talking about her anxiety. She talks about how she gets overwhelmed. And that short clip that you played with the officer questioning Gabby, it appeared to me that he was trying to determine if they could make out an assault charge. And he was being, you know, very nice to her. And he was saying, you know, take your time. I'm going to ask you a question. How you answer this question is going to be very important. And it seemed to me like he was trying to determine if they could make out intent. Did she have intent to cause him any harm? And when she said no, basically she said that wasn't her intent. I forget exactly how she answered the question. Then he turned to the other officer and said, well, looks to me like, you know, we can't really make that charge. It's your call. Ultimately, they decided not to charge her, which in the moment, that is a decision that they made. They were separated for the night, and now she is missing. He arrived back here with the van and without her. But this is very important video because this is just days before she was last seen, last heard from. And this gives you some insight into the relationship that she had with her fiancé. And as you said, JB, this is not like what was posted on Instagram.
Yeah, and a lot of our commenters here noting that the officer called her a golden flower. I see a lot of golden flower comments here in the Facebook Live comment section. Okay, let's get to some of the comments that are coming in here. First and foremost, if you want to read the latest on this story, our entire team here, not just the entirety of the video, but our entire team here at WFLA providing you with the very latest on the search for Gabby Petito. It's a team effort here, both on air and online here. So if you want to read for yourself what the latest is, you can go to WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and on the WFLA app, you can also get, of course, push alerts to your phone. Any update on the Gabby Petito story, we'll let you know about it. Any press conferences, any press releases, and additionally, you can read the latest for yourself there on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, hello there to you. JB Buno, Masa Saidi here with you live, and you can click on the link in the description on this video, the pinned comment below. It'll take you over to the same article, of course, on WFLA.com, and the WFLA app. Let's take some of the questions that are coming in here. And Masa is the perfect, Masa here, a former New York City prosecutor, the perfect person to answer this question here from Cliff. Hashtag HJB, why don't they arrest Brian for hindering an investigation? Last time I checked, that's a crime.
So at this point, no crime has been committed. The Northport Police Department is leading this investigation, and at this point, they are just searching for a missing persons case, and so that's how we're going to answer that question. There's no crime has been committed, so.
Cliff, thank you for the comment. Vicky Lynn, hashtag AJB, where do you think the last place she was? So we keep hearing about Grand Teton National Park. That is one of the many national parks in that section of the country, 30 miles from Yellowstone. We were talking about this yesterday, and we're talking about sort of vast area. And it's going to be extremely, and it has been difficult for the search efforts there, just because you're dealing with such an enormous area. Search efforts for when you're finding one person across multiple states, of course it's going to be extremely difficult. If it was here in Florida, Florida is extremely diverse. If it was, could she be on the Panhandle? Could she be in Central Florida? Could she be in South Florida? Could she be towards Jacksonville? Anytime you're trying to find one person, it can be extremely difficult. And that's why this next question here is a big one, and it comes from Candace Hall, hashtag HJB. Have they pinged her phone? And of course, we have heard from Northport Police, Masa, repeatedly here that they are doing everything at their disposal. All technological means here are on the table. But if they haven't been able to track her phone to a location that gives them Gabby's whereabouts, then at this point, then you're thinking that the phone isn't going to be helpful at this stage in the investigation.
Well, certainly one of the most basic investigative techniques that they would have immediately utilized is to try to use the cell phone towers and cell phone data to try to find out her whereabouts. To answer that last question, this incident, this body camera video that you're looking at is from August 12th. 9 days after this incident, she had a phone call, a FaceTime with her dad. The last time that she spoke with her family was on August 25th, and as JB said, August 25th near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. So I think, would that be the way to answer that question, the last time that she was heard? As of now, reporters tried to get more information from the chief, and he said basically there's a lot of information, we're going through a lot of stuff, and that's the latest that we know right now. August 25th, last time she was heard from.
How about Lauren Agnelli here, hashtag AJB. Didn't she get a citation for hitting him? And that's where we're looking at this moment here in the body camera video, where the officer asks, the questions, were you attempting to do him physical impairment, physical harm? And was she issued a citation for slapping him, this altercation that occurred between him? And the entire video here, it's an hour or so long, and you can see the timestamps in the top right-hand corner from the body camera video from Utah Police. It's going to take us a long time to go through, of course, the entirety of it, and some have, but they went through the process here of how you handle a domestic call like this. And every state has different laws and different rules, different procedures but as far as diffusing the situation here, you can clearly see in the video that Utah Police try to do everything they can. They separate the two. That's a big part of domestic calls, Masa. One of the first things you do is you separate the two at the subject of the call, because you want to make sure that that person A and person B can speak unfiltered without the other person having to hear any of the story being told. You don't want there to be objections from it. You just want to isolate them.
Or if
and then,
one
of
person
course,
is afraid, you want them to be able to openly
Exactly.
talk with you. So what happened, I actually worked on domestic violence cases when I was in law school, and they are notoriously difficult, and part of the reason is that the people have underlying feelings for one another, and oftentimes even when we would get deep into a case, the woman, it was most often the woman, would not want to press any charges. But in this case, it was Brian. Officers were talking with him about if he wanted to press charges, and he said that he did not want to press charges. He said, I'm not, quote, I am not going to pursue anything because she is my fiancé and I love her. It was just a squabble. Sorry, it had to get so public. So when you don't have the victim and the case wanting to cooperate, that's partly one reason why police decided not to press charges. And again, I do have to go through this entire video and look at everything that happened, but that is the reason, one big reason they decided not to press charges, because he would not cooperate anyway. But they could have at that point, but they determined not to do that, JB.
I'm gonna put up Courtney Taylor's. We have a lot of comments in the queue here, a lot more hashtag #AMASA, hashtag #AJB comments coming in here from the Facebook Live comment section. We're not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna try to answer as many questions for you folks as we can. And Courtney Taylor here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the clip again because of Courtney's comment. Courtney says, hashtag #AJB, when he says he's going to separate, so when the officer says he's going to separate them, she smiled a little bit like she was relieved. That should have been a red flag. So this is an observation from one of our commenters. This happens all the time here on WFLA Now when we feature comments from you or audience members at home, or wherever you're watching from. And Courtney here making an observation that that Gabby maybe smiled a little bit and expressed some relief that they were going to be separated here for a moment so that Gabby could speak to one of the officers here without Brian present. Let's play back the clip here one more time. We'll come back here on the back end of it, and we'll see if you guys agree with what Courtney has to say here. Back in 90 seconds.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about this.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight.
Masa, what do you think?
I'm not exactly sure if this is what Courtney was referring to, but at the end when he said, I'm going to separate you, and she had a smile on her face, the way that I looked at that was she was relieved that she was not going to jail today, not necessarily relieved that she was being separated from him, although I'm sure a break is nice after what they've just gone through, you know, but yeah.
And I'm just going to present an alternative scenario here to Courtney's comment. Perhaps Gabby was relieved to know that they were going to be separated and spend a night apart, and that sometimes is the best thing for a couple experiencing friction in their relationship. Mm-hmm. Could it also just be at that stage in the body camera video? I think an hour has elapsed, and it's been a long time of just being prodded with questions, and maybe Gabby was relieved that this is coming to an end here without charges being filed and without a police report being filed as well. So it could go either way, but Courtney, we always appreciate our commenters being online sleuths and looking deeper into these videos and helping us and have a conversation with us based on something that they might have noticed here. Let's get to some more of the comments. For those of you just joining us, 8 on your side, investigator Masa Saidi, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. What we do here on WFLA Now, we feature comments from you, our viewers. It's very much a collaborative effort here. It's the two of us and it's all of you. And we know that we can't get to every hashtag AJB, hashtag AMASA comment, especially with this volume of viewers here with us on Facebook Live, but we'll do our very best. to get to as many of them as possible. If you're trying to get my attention here in the Facebook Live comment section, use hashtag HeyMasa or hashtag HeyJB with your comment or your question. And as a reminder, and I said this yesterday and I'll say this again, we're not going to be putting up any gruesome theories, anything that crosses the line. So we're just going to try to have an objective and stay on the tracks, so to speak, here as far as our conversation here on WFLA Now. Let's get to this. And this is, Kelly, I'm glad you asked this question here. Kelly LeBlanc, hashtag HeyJB, how much time passed after this video before she went missing? And we have a great write-up on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and I'm going to continuously let you know about all the resources that we have here for you on the Gabby Petito story on WFLA.com, because we have a timeline breakdown there for you. So if you want to know day by day, from July 2nd, when they left Long Island, New York in the van, to now, if you want a timed breakdown, it's on WFLA.com and the WFLA app day by day. But what do we say here for Kelly's comment, Masa?
13 days.
13 days.
13 days from the last, 13 days after this
Right.
is the
The
last
26th?
time. 25th is
25th,
the last
excuse me.
time that she spoke with her mother. She was declared missing by police in New York on September 11th is when, correction, not declared missing by police. September 11th is when her parents reported her missing. Later that night, Northport police recovered the van outside of Brian's house, and on September 15th, yesterday, he was named a person of interest. But this is August 12th that you're looking at. August 25th is the last time that she talked with her family.
And we have a question that just came in here from Ashore, hashtag HeyJB. What did he say when the police asked him? That will be part of Masa's report, and we will, of course, get to that on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. Of course, we're going to put up the video and the portions of the video that we have, the body camera video from Utah Police. You have the log, I believe, Masa, I don't know if you have it in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
I know
I
you should see
have the log in
Masa's
front of
desk,
me.
people. She's got a million documents in front of
Can
her
I
here.
answer this question?
You absolutely
He's asking
can.
about what did
Brian Laundrie say to police?
Right, so he's not talking with police. All the communication is happening through the attorney, and the attorney, so our report here says the attorney did not respond to our request for comment about police naming him a person of interest, but what they had said is that this is understandably an extremely difficult time for the Petito family and the Laundrie family. It's our understanding that the search has been organized for her in Wyoming, and basically they did not respond to the fact that yesterday he was named a person of interest, and they said on advice of counsel, the Laundrie family is remaining in the background at this juncture and they will have no further comments. So they are not talking. He's exercising his rights not to talk at all. All we have is that statement from the family and no reaction to that huge news yesterday that he is now named as a person of interest by police in Northport.
So that's what he's saying now. See, when I read this comment from Ashore here, what did he say when the police asked him? I think, or at least I took it as, what did Brian say to police in this altercation here?
I'm so sorry about that. Okay.
Okay, but
yep, I have the log.
You have the log. So I'm gonna let Masa kind of go through the log here. Ashore, we're gonna come back to your comment here in a second. In the meantime, I'm gonna read through a couple of the other comments that we have here on
Specifically
Facebook
at
Live.
what point?
Well,
does you
I
want to
think
question?
I think that what Ashore is asking, I think what our commenters are asking here is when the two were separated. Again, folks, we're talking here about the altercation that occurred on August 12th, that afternoon, here in the center of your screen that we've been playing back here for you. When they were separated, and Gabby was with one officer and Brian was with the other, I think people are asking, what did Brian say was when he was solo with the officer? I think that's what Ashore was saying.
Okay, let me look into that. You take over for a second, and I will pull that up right now.
You got it. All right. So in the meantime, here we'll answer some more questions. Glenn Rand, hashtag HeyJB. I thought if there was any physical activity during any domestic situation, they arrest someone. This is not necessarily true. And as a reminder here, folks, every state has different laws, and all officers and law enforcement agencies try to treat domestic disputes with the attention that they deserve, but also with some sense of understanding here. So while there was some physical activity here between the two, it's you see the officer when you slapped him those times. Were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? She responds, no, never. After here, no, never. What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What is it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping him? I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down. And then the officer deduces from that, it doesn't sound like she was trying to intentionally harm him. So this is the line of questioning procedure is drilled into officers across the country on how to handle domestic disputes. And of course, Masa noted earlier here that it's one of the most difficult situations to handle for responding officers, domestic calls. I would love, and again, I know that we have law enforcement folks and a lot of, especially on WFLA now, we get a lot of retirees, law enforcement retirees that join us here in our Facebook Live comment section. Again, hashtag HJB, hashtag HMOS. I would love to hear from perhaps somebody who's been at hundreds of these type of calls to gain some perspective as to whether, and we're only looking here at snippets, but how the officers handled the situation. But from everything that we have seen, they treated it with the delicate nature that it really deserved here. Let's see here. Erica Ann, hashtag HJB. If they determine that a crime was committed, will he be charged then for hindering the investigation? This is a great question from Erica. And first and foremost here, it depends on what crime was committed. Now, at this stage in the investigation, officers, police, investigators do not have enough on the van to charge him with anything related to the van, with the van being in her name and him driving it back to Florida, even though it was in her name and Gabby is missing. They don't have enough. They have to follow the law, and the law allows them to charge crimes when certain conditions are met, and in this case, the conditions aren't met for them to charge Brian Laundrie with any crime. So until they have grounds to charge him, they're not going to charge him with a crime, because that's, of course, how our country works and how law enforcement works. But will he be charged then for hindering the investigation? I think that there's a chance for additional charges in the future based on what they discover down the road. But you can't charge him for hindering an investigation when you don't have grounds that he had something to do directly with her disappearance, and they don't at this time, based on where we are now in the investigation. Erica, thanks a lot for your comment here. Masa will be back here in just a moment. Let's see here. This is a grim question. Yeah, but you know what, Rick? We're gonna, it's the reality of the situation of where we are in this now. Rick Bradford, hashtag HJB. When does the law turn this from a missing person case into a murder investigation? Does it require a body? And the answer is yes. Well, yes and no. It doesn't require a body, but it requires confirmation that something sinister happened to Gabby Petito. And right now, we don't know. You got to remember here, folks, the family here is maintaining hope that Gabby is found alive. 8 on Your Side's Justin Shecker spoke to the family a couple of nights ago. It was the same father that you saw there, at the press conference in Northport a short time ago there, speaking with the FBI, speaking with police there at Northport City Hall. This is a little snippet of that conversation between 8 on Your Side's Justin Shecker and the Petito family, the Petito parents in particular, back in 60 seconds.
I don't know about you, but their child's home. My child's somewhere in the continental United States with no phone, no car. No, it's not as hard on them as it is on us. If you want to help somebody, you help somebody.
Mm-hmm. We have people across the country helping us, trying to give any tips, anything that they, maybe they saw her.
Every viewer that's watching this, look at every picture that you're going to see on this screen. Watch the video. Let her face burn it into your memory. Your heart is somewhere, and we don't know where it is.
The waiting is just horrible. It's just the worst feeling.
To me, in my head right now, a phone's dead, broke, lost, taken, whatever. She's wandering the woods because she can't find her bearings. Happens all the time. And that's what I'm going with until I'm told otherwise.
Hope there from the Petito family. So to Rick Bradford's a question here, and let's just, I hesitated with this comment because, it has the word murder in it. And we of course have to go based on the facts of the case and what we know here at this time. And there's zero evidence that Gabby Petito was murdered. And let me just make that abundantly clear. Based on what we know. Now, Justin on our streams yesterday made an excellent point saying that, that there are things that investigators know that they can't release to the public right now because that's how investigations of this magnitude works, that not all information is available to the public, that there are some pieces of information, such as information about the electronics, that investigators know that they haven't shared with the general public here, even though that the amount of attention on this case is gargantuan. It's just absolutely through the roof. But as far as this being a murder, there is zero evidence this is a murder. And I see the comments. This is now day 3 of many live streams that we have done here. And I've been reading your comments. And remember, we are engineered, many of us, not all of us, many of us are engineered to immediately assume the worst. There have been comments of people saying, "Oh my God, her body is out there somewhere." There's comments out there saying that she's a goner, and all of jumping to all of these conclusions. And that's we understand that. That's how social media works. People are gonna throw theories all over the wall to see if anything gains traction on social. We understand how it works, but let's keep things grounded in reality. The Petito family you just heard from is hopeful that they're going to find Gabby alive. Police, at least publicly, are saying that they are hopeful that Gabby is going to be found alive, and that there's no evidence at this time that Gabby is lost, or at least lost in that sense. They are hoping, see the vast area that we're talking about here in Utah? They are hoping that she's out there somewhere. They are hoping, and you heard there from Mr. Petito, they're hoping that another fight occurred after this one. Gabby got out of the van, said, "I am done with this. I would rather be out in the wilderness than be with you," something to that effect. Went out into the wilderness seeking something, or maybe just seeking getting away from the situation, became disoriented, and is out there somewhere. It's what they're. It's the thread of hope that they are holding on to. It's the one that I'm holding on to personally, and I hope that Gabby is out there and she's found alive. So we'll listen. If it becomes something worse than a missing persons case, we'll have it here for you. We're here in the Tampa Bay area. Northport Police we work with all the time. We know the folks over there. So. And that's our coverage area, so to speak, here at WFLA. So as soon as we have something from Northport Police that we can share, whether this ends poorly or the opposite, we'll let you know about it. Some more comments coming in here. Courtney Taylor, hashtag HJB when he's, this is the one that we had earlier. Let's get back to Ashore's comment here. Hashtag JB, what did he say when police asked him? Let's bring back in 8 on your side investigator Masa Saidi, who's been combing through the log here. Just read the whole thing. Somebody at Utah Police had a very, very long day at transcribing this conversation, or maybe it was a member of the media. But regardless, you've been combing through the log here. What did Brian on this day, August 12th, in this altercation, in this encounter with police, what did Brian Laundrie say to officers when he was asked about what happened?
So that comment was made at about 5 minutes into the video. The officer says, "Tell me what's going on." And he said, quote, "She gets worked up sometimes, and I try to distance myself from her. I locked the car and walked away from her. What happened this morning is that she's trying to start a website. I gave her time. We had a really nice morning, but worked up because we were trying to get our day going." The officer then notices that he has scratches on his face, and he says, "You want to tell me about, the scratches on your face?" And he says, quote, "She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away, because I locked the key so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather. Let's not go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute." And then you see, officers, as they're trying to determine if they're going to charge her, he would be the victim of a domestic assault, and he's concerned, like, can I go to jail? And they basically tell him, no, you're the victim. Under no circumstance would you be the one getting in trouble. And then he basically says, I love her. I don't want to press any charges. And then they say, well, we don't necessarily need you. So they go into that whole debate before deciding before ultimately deciding that they're not going to charge her, not even with the citation. But basically what he's doing right now, JB, is he is exercising his right against self-incrimination. So you cannot, that is one of the rights that you have under the Constitution. So even if they think that he's the one that did it, they can't force him to talk and incriminate himself. You have a right to remain silent.
I have another question here from Brooke Lauren that we're going to populate here on screen again. 8 on your side, investigator Masa Saidi, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. Use any of the hashtags on your screen. You see it here in the yellow stripes beneath our names, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyMasa. We can feature your comments here, but only if you use those hashtags, because not everybody, and let me just explain how this works, not everybody wants their comment and their name and their profile picture on a news live stream like this, and we respect that. So only if you want your comment featured on screen should you use one of the hashtags to get our attention so that we can then animate it from there. But Brooke Lauren with an excellent comment, and I'm really curious to hear what Masa has to say about this one. Brooke saying, hashtag HJB, what is being done to prevent Brian from being a flight risk? Since he's not arrested, can he run if he wanted to? Now we have to caution you with this type of comment that, as a reminder, Masa just said it, and you're going to hear us say it time and time again, he's a person of interest, not a suspect, and he's not wanted for any crime because there's no crime that he's being charged with or arrested for at this time. Brian is simply a person of interest and Gabby's fiancé, or Gabby's boyfriend. So with the context there on this, what is being done to prevent him from leaving? I would imagine that police are keeping very close tab. You heard there the Northport police chief during the press conference, Masa, was asked the question multiple times. They know exactly where Brian is, and you would imagine that they're keeping close tabs on him. But if Brian said, hey, I had a vacation scheduled for September 16th, and I'm going to Cancun, is there anything that they can do to stop him from getting on a flight to another country?
So no, the answer is no. So right now they can't unless, at this point, absolutely not. So police said this morning during the press conference that we just listened to that they know exactly where Brian is. There's some reports that he may be at his parents' house here in Florida, that he may be at his sister's house. Police know exactly where he is, and as JB mentioned, I suspect they're keeping very close tabs on his movements, but they cannot prevent his movement at this time. And they wouldn't tell the media publicly where he is, because at this point, you can imagine this story has gotten so much attention that is not,
huge
information that they want to give out to the public.
So, Brooke, Brian is in Sarasota County. That's what we know, and
Possibly. We don't know exactly where he is because they wouldn't tell us.
Well, right. And we don't know
his
that
family there, so he's likely there. You're right with that.
We don't know that he's in North. We are confident that he is in Sarasota County based on what our team here has heard from reporters, or excuse me, from officials here in Sarasota. So Sarasota County on the south end of Tampa Bay here in Florida. Great place. But really, some major news stories have come out of Sarasota County. Allison Henning, our reporter there, has been certainly working overtime on all the craziness that has occurred there in Sarasota County of late. Let's see here. Michela Mando, or Michela Mando. I am the worst at name pronunciations.
No,
I should
not.
never have been given this job. Hashtag HJB. How do they know they were separated after this? Did they check local hotels in this area? This is a fascinating question. Police have a job to do. Utah police, they have to move on to others that need their help, right? So after this altercation occurs, how do they know that Gabby and Brian followed instructions and separated themselves for the night? And is there any hints of that in the log here in the transcript of the altercation, Masa?
So they basically told her that she can stay in the van and that he was transferred over to a hotel. And the officer came back to Brian and said, hey, she has a message for you. She loves you. She's looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. But then the officer basically just tells Gabby, don't text each other tonight. He wants to pass the same message, that he loves you as well. He looks forward to talking to you again. Officer basically just tells him, don't text tonight. Don't even say goodnight, I love you. He's going to the hotel. Here's the keys to the van. We're going to drive him to the hotel. and that's it, then I imagine I'd have to look further into it, but I imagine they went about their way at that point, JB.
Let's get to this one here from Shari Brandow here, #8JB. I was wondering this. I swear I was thinking about this on the drive home last night. How much restraint it must take for Mr. Petito, Gabby's father, to be here today in Sarasota County. You just saw him there at the press conference at noon Eastern. Masa, if your child was missing and somebody had answers, I know you. I know you personally. You wouldn't. There isn't a door in the world with a lock strong enough that would stop you from getting to that person. So, Mr. Petito,
And I would be arrested soon after, and that would help nothing.
Masa,
Not to
I don't.
make it about me.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
But keeping things on point here. So, Mr. Petito, let me read the comment from Shari Brandow. #KJB. Can Gabby's parents go to Brian's house to talk to him? They have made multiple attempts to contact Brian, to get Brian to speak. And as of right now, he's not talking. Now, if it were you, Masa, if it were me, I could tell you if it was my child, I would go right up to the house and I would knock on the door. And that's my future son-in-law, or at least what I thought was going to be my future son-in-law.
Right.
So we don't know if Mr. Petito has been over there to the house, but you would imagine it's something that.
I'm sure it's something that law enforcement advises against. The Brian's family could very easily at that point get a restraining order against her family, so they're not going to get very far. I think the better route to go is to try to plead with him. You know, this family is under such a spotlight right now. And I think that's the better route if they're trying to get them to talk, because you can't force someone to talk to you. You know, you can go up to the door, you can't force them to talk with you, and you could potentially land yourself in some legal trouble if you violate any further orders, like if they go on the property, that's trespassing. If they tell them to leave and they don't, you know, that could be harassment.
Mr. Petito is a better man than I, because if it was my child, I think there's nothing that would stop me from wanting to know where my daughter is. I think we have a time for about another. Oh, we have another note here. Time for another 10 or so minutes here
okay,
on WFLA now.
I can be here all day.
All day.
That's a lie. I have to be on it.
Well, Masa's got a lot of work to do as far as our evening newscast tonight. All right, let's read this. And I think I have this here. This is a statement from Brian Laundrie's family here. I'm going to read this here for you. We got more #AJB, #AMasa comments coming up here. We're going to be live here another 10, 15 minutes, so it's the last call for your #AJB, #AMasa comments. But as a reminder, we're going to be doing a lot of live streams like this, so a lot more here on WFLA's Facebook page and WFLA.com. Statement from the attorney for Brian Laundrie, that is Stephen Bertolino, East Islip in New York, and it reads as follows. Many people are wondering why Mr. Laundrie would not make a statement or speak with law enforcement in the face of Miss Petito's absence. In my experience, intimate partners are often the first person law enforcement focuses their attention on in cases like this, and the warning that any statement made will be used against you is true, regardless of whether my client had anything to do with Miss Petito's disappearance. As such, on the advice of counsel, Mr. Laundrie is not speaking on this matter. I've been informed that the Northport, Florida police have named Brian Laundrie as a person of interest in this matter. This formality has not really changed the circumstances of Mr. Laundrie being the focus and attention of law enforcement, and Mr. Laundrie will continue to remain silent on the advice of counsel. Now, we have read this statement here before, but to the comment, like Lillian's comment here, we have a lot of them. #KJB. What has Brian said about the last time that he saw her? Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know because of exactly this right here.
Against self-incrimination, and there is nothing that police can do to force him
and you know
to make a statement and incriminate himself.
And what this really, you know what this translates to in one short sentence for everybody? I'm not letting my client be the fall guy. That there's no, that with a 22-year-old woman goes on a cross-country road trip, disappears, and right now there's so much unknown. that Stephen Bertolino here is going to do everything that he can to represent his client and put up the best defense possible,
And you know,
as you would expect.
And when people, talk about, right now it's just a missing persons case, it's just a missing persons case, when is it going to be something more than a missing persons case? Well, that would have to be like a determination that is made by prosecutors as they're working with the detectives and the FBI, because we know the FBI is involved because this spans so many states and so many jurisdictions. That would be a determination that would have to be made at what point you want to call this a homicide and you no longer want to call this a missing persons case. And a no body homicide is a case that you can bring. Those are obviously very difficult cases. You would have to prove the fundamentals. You'd have to prove that the victim is dead. You could prove that by saying, oh, it's been 2 years and nobody's seen her. We followed up and God willing, this is not what's going to happen, but just to play it out and just to talk about how that process would work, you'd have to say that, it's been 2 years, nobody's seen her, nobody's heard from her. You would have to have some idea of the date that she died, where she died, and tie it to him. So as of right now, it's just a missing persons case. The family's hoping that she's going to be found. She certainly could be found. That is what we are all hoping. But at what point this would turn into no longer being a missing persons case and the court basically determining that, at this point, not even talking about her, determining that a missing person is dead, they would look at various factors and making that determination, and that is certainly not where we are right now. Again, they are analyzing the van. Could there be anything of evidentiary value inside that van? We don't know. The Northport police chief would not discuss that. All he would say is that they are looking at some things that were found inside the van, and if they get more information, we'll get it at that point. So that's where we stand right now, JB.
A correction from well, it's not even a correction, it's just a point here from earlier. I was talking about how we're confident that Brian Laundrie is in Sarasota County. It's also entirely possible that he's in Charlotte County as well, because Jim Hockett, a Sarasota County expert here for us at WFLA and a colleague of Moss's and myself, saying that, of course, Northport's right there near Charlotte County as well. So
I want to push back against you on this, JB. I think he could literally be anywhere. Police didn't give us any indication on the record of where he is. And so they know where he is, and no one knows where that is.
I wasn't talking about on the record. But we need to you and I need to catch up here in a little bit, because there's a high without saying too much, there's confidence that Brian Laundrie is in the Tampa Bay area. I'm just gonna put it based on our reporters that have been covering the story there on the ground in Sarasota, and based on the people that they've been talking to. Masa, you could be entirely right that he's outside of the area.
I'm just saying I wasn't aware that anybody had seen him, but we can move on past this.
No. and we will, but there is confidence that he is in the Tampa Bay area based on some of the things that we have heard. Okay, Northport, of course, being in Sarasota County near Charlotte County. Let's get to this comment here from Tony. And we only have another few minutes here with Masa and myself here, folks. Hashtag HJB. Let's talk about this. Let me know. We can even perhaps end our stream here by just breaking down this comment from Tony. Tony says, hashtag HJB. If you're innocent, then you have nothing to hide. Now again, Masa here, folks, is a prosecutor turned journalist and is here with us, an 8 on your side investigator here at WFLA. If you're innocent, then you have nothing to hide. That is true. But it seems that Brian Laundrie here is following the direct advice from counsel, from his attorney in New York, and not speaking. Now, does that incriminate? It does. It incriminates him in the public view even more. It just makes it because the optics of it are so poor. They're so poor because he's the only one with her.
Right. So in any jury trial where there is a defendant and the defendant exercises his right against self-incrimination, the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, the judge will read into jury instructions before they go and deliberate and decide the fate of this defendant. They will say that he has a right to not speak. This is a constitutional right that you have against self-incrimination, and that is the beginning and the end of it. Certainly, Tony feels the way he feels. A lot of people feel that way. That's a very common thing that you hear, but legally he has a right under the Constitution to not self-incriminate himself, and that is the right that he's exercising, and the police chief said that is the right that he's exercising, and we all have to respect that right. That is his constitutional right, and you cannot. We can decide that, our viewers here on WFLA Now can say, hey, that looks really shady, I don't like that. But if they were jurors inside a jury room, that would not be something that they could use against him, because that is his constitutional right.
So Masa here is an expert on the court of law. I'm a somewhat expert on the court of public opinion, because all I do is read your comments and read. And Brian Laundrie is not even eligible to be charged with a crime. He is a person of interest in the court of law in Masa's side of the world. My side of the world, there are people that already are certain that Brian Laundrie is responsible or has more information based on Gabby's disappearance.
He will never die this down. This will never die down for the rest of his life, no matter what happens, unless she's found and everything's fine and God willing, that's what happens, that this is going to follow him in your world, JB.
Folks, we're going to let
public opinion.
We're going to let Masa get going here. I'm going to stay here with you for another second here to remind you that we have team coverage here tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Okay, so WFLA, of course, your NBC station here in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, of course, serving a lot of counties from Hillsborough to Pinellas to Pasco to Polk, all the way down, of course, to Sarasota, Charlotte counties that we mentioned earlier here. That is, this story, of course, is one that we are following extremely closely because Northport Police, of course, right here in our coverage area. So we have team coverage coming up tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 from Masa and our entire team of reporters here to bring you the very latest. What I'm going to be doing is monitoring all the latest developments that occur. And if there is another development that occurs that is significant, we're back here live with you on WFLA Now to continue the conversation, take more of your hashtag AJB comments, more of your hashtag comments that are coming in the Facebook Live comment section. So we are going to sign off here for now. But you can see here that we've activated the Share to Help banner on the bottom of your screen. We're going to make one last plea here, asking folks to share this stream or any if you want to share it from Northport Police, if you want to share it from a particular law enforcement agency that you're following, maybe you're joining us from Utah or Wyoming and you want to share a missing person, shareable as they call it, on social media, please do so. We're just asking that the public do what they can here as far as sharing the news. We know that we're getting to a point here where we're getting somewhat saturated as far as the public awareness to Gabby Petito's disappearance. And by now, a lot of folks know that she is missing, but you'd be surprised. I've had conversations with people over the last 24 hours that were unaware of this story. So in certain sections of the country. So do your part if you can. Share news of her disappearance on social media. The more people that we reach out to, maybe somebody was on a road trip themselves and saw something on the road with the van or with the couple themselves at a rest stop or a restaurant or a gas station. You'd be surprised at how powerful social media can become when enough people get exposed to a particular news story. So please, if you can, do your part to help. You can click on the share button on this live stream, or you can do it really, like I said, on anything that you can do will help out the Petito family that we, of course, had on earlier here in a recorded segment. Of course, we have the latest for you as well on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, the latest on the search for Gabby Petito. There we have a timeline breaking down exactly where she was and all of her known whereabouts day by day up until now. And also, most importantly, if there is an update, whether it comes from Wyoming, Utah, New York, Florida, somewhere else, wherever that update is, we'll have it for you on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. For those of you looking for updates immediately on this story, you can download the WFLA app and enable push alerts, push notifications, so that every time that we get a new piece of information on the search for Gabby Petito, it'll be sent right to your phone. For everybody joining us here, we know that we missed a lot of hashtag HJB, hashtag HMasa comments. We will have more live streams here on the search for Gabby Petito, but for now, I'd like to thank Masa Saidi for joining us here on WFLA Now. More ahead in the hours ahead on WFLA.com and the WFLA app.
away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting
from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times,
from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out supplies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times,
because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical
separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard.
because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare. from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying. This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight.
Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. We're still live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, as well as on WFLA's YouTube page. To our YouTube audience, hello there to you. We have just been informed that a 2:30 press conference is about to get underway here from New York. The Petito family has called a press conference and pertaining to, of course, the search for Gabby Petito. So that's coming up here at 2:30 Eastern Time, wherever you're watching from. So that's about 28 minutes from now. We'll be here with you live on WFLA Now to bring you the very latest here on the Gabby Petito case, as well as that press conference from New York. Again, back in about half an hour.
Away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving, I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer it. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times,
because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're gonna be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him?
No.
What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me about it.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight, okay? I want you guys both to be, tonight, away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? This is, I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight. What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got out flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, ma'am?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. I was scratching myself, so that could be an issue also. Yeah. Get your mind out of your gut.
Thought that was our donuts and coffee.
Right, so think about how many calls you buy with pictures on calls. It's all like terrible, especially like 40s and 70s, war, you know. Yep. Well.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Is that your son?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Let me get a picture. I called you yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, just to see if you had any info on this business.
Did you leave a message?
You get a nice picture. No, I didn't leave a message. I just called. How you doing, young man?
Because I don't remember a message from you, so. So what's going on? There's so much, I mean,
Hurry up and wait.
It's hard to even, oh.
You want me to stand here again? No.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Where am I going to stick this thing? Up here? I guess. There.
Get together. I'll do a nice photograph for you guys and send it off to you.
All right, here, cutie. Look, smile. Smile.
Yeah, good. Just send me your email. I'll send it off to you.
Thank you. Happy man.
Good, thank you. Today I'm on for Newsday. Tomorrow I have no idea. Probably the Post.
Where are you? Roca. There you are.
Yeah, send me a quick, send me your email and I'll send it off to you.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you.
Good.
I appreciate that.
I got it. I just heard it.
This guy, I'm trying to think. Yeah. A little late, but nothing for yet. So.
I'm Roca Photo with AOL.com. So.
Oh, that's funny. You're AOL too.
What channel are you with? Well, let me have it. We'll send you away. Yeah, I mean, you can move it if you want. I just got to do a couple of shots with both. Why? Good. Yeah?
Hello there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA now, coming up on about 5 minutes away from this press conference that's been called by the family of Gabby Petito. And as we understand it, the family of Gabby Petito is going to be reading remarks, and those remarks, as we understand it, again, are going to be delivered directly to Brian Laundrie, the fiancé who was in the van with Gabby Petito on that cross-country road trip that we've been telling you about before her disappearance. Brian, of course, making the trip, the long trip in her van back to Florida, back here to the Tampa Bay area where we are here, not too far away from Sarasota County, from that area where Brian Laundrie is believed to be. And we have a press conference again coming your way here in a few minutes' time. Gabby Petito is going to be delivering a message specifically to, Gabby Petito's family is going to be delivering a message specifically to Brian Laundrie. We're going to listen in on that and then also have a conversation here with our audience, joining us both on Facebook, on YouTube, to our YouTube audience, hello, to our Twitter audience, hello. We'll be having a conversation with you here after the press conference concludes. So that's all coming up here next, live here on WFLA Now.
heads up when he's coming out? I guess not.
Coming out?
Yeah.
You gave a heads up?
Well, I don't know. I mean, 'cause you
No,
know why?
yeah,
Because I gotta turn this on, but I don't want to keep it running for 20 minutes. And I would stand right there by all the mics. Stand right here.
What, do you gotta flip the switch?
Yeah. Should I turn this on? Oh no. What? I don't know if he's starting. I'm gonna turn it. Why not? Why? Doesn't matter, just run. Testing, 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 texting, testing. Hi.
Hey folks, JB Buno here with you live on WFLA now. The time is 2:30, actually 2:31 Eastern time here. We're live here on the right side of your screen from New York, where a press conference is about to get underway. The Laundrie family delivering remarks here and speaking directly to the Laundrie family here in short time. As soon as we, of course, have activity here, we'll be live on all of our various platforms. We're live on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, all of our social media channels, including here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And then we'll be having a discussion here afterwards based on what we know here midway through September 16th. If you haven't seen the body camera video, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the body camera video that came from Utah police that shed a little bit more light on the altercation that occurred between Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie on the road before her disappearance. So as soon as the press conference gets underway, we'll be live across all platforms. And then afterwards here, don't go anywhere, we'll have a conversation with our audience here as to the very latest here on the search for Gabby Petito. That's coming up on WFLA Now.
Why don't you hand me that camera there?
We're delayed about 10 minutes, okay? Yeah. About 10 minutes. We're going to try to make it 5, okay?
Yeah, because she has a deadline in like 3 minutes to be live
Okay.
on the radio. What? I'll just leave it on.
Hey folks, JB Buno here with you live once again, standing by here for the beginning of this press conference from Bohemia, New York. That's where the Gabby Petito family is going to be issuing a statement here. I'm going to read exactly the email that we got in a short time ago. That press conference, by the way, it says 2:30 Eastern. It's actually going to be at about 2:40 Eastern, so it's about in 5 minutes time here. Let's see here. It says a statement came forward from a representative representing the family. I will be addressing the media today at 2:30 p.m. One Corporate Drive in Bohemia, New York. I will be reading a letter from the Schmidt and Petito family to Christopher and Roberta Laundrie. That's the parents of Brian Laundrie, the fiance. I'll be taking limited questions afterward. That coming from Richard Stafford, legal aid, who is representing the Petito and Schmidt families. That's coming up here in a few minutes live here on WFLA Now. You can share to help out.
Roka's a little suspicious here, might have shut it off.
Yeah, you got about 5 more minutes.
I'll turn it back on. I just shut off, turn it back on. Testing, testing. Testing and testing. You can sit in there, Noah.
Hang on. Can I get this camera rolling? We're live with this, so we can hold it. Listen, we got everything.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. 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 Streaming live on WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY. Here's J.B. Buno.
We're moments away from a statement coming from the family of Gabby Petito, the Florida 22-year-old who went missing on a cross-country road trip with her fiancé, now a person of interest in the case. As we understand it, the Petito family will be delivering a message to the family of Brian Laundrie, who remains here in Florida and not talking. Hey there, folks. JB Buno here with you live on WFLA Now. As a reminder, you can share to help out here as far as the family of Gabby Petito. They are continuously looking for any semblance of hope here as far as where Gabby Petito could be. We are live here from, from Bohemia, Florida. Bohemia, New York, for a press conference. It's about to begin here momentarily. Now, the press conference here that's being called here in New York is on behalf of Gabby Petito's family. And as we understand it, they're going to be reading here a statement that's targeted towards the Laundrie family. Now, Brian Laundrie, of course, being the fiancé slash boyfriend of Gabby Petito, who went on the cross-country road trip with Gabby in July, leaving from New York and returning home to Florida in her van without her. Gabby remains missing, believed to perhaps be somewhere in Utah or Wyoming, somewhere in the continental United States, somewhere not far from where they were on that road trip. And again, a press conference about to get underway here momentarily. So we're here with you live, everybody, on WFLA Now to get here live with enough advance here so that when the press conference begins, you can hear the very, very first words here. And they're doing mic checks. I'd like to bring in Josh Benson, who's joining us here, everybody, on WFLA Now. You're going to see him tonight on WFLA News Channel 8 for his perspective here on this story, and we're going to tune in Josh's shot. We've had a lot of different reporters and anchors here join us, everybody, on WFLA Now. Josh, great to have you here. And we're moments away from a press conference getting underway here in the center of our screens. We're going to be hearing from Gabby Petito's family, or a representative is going to be speaking on behalf of Gabby Petito's family.
Yes, and this continues to be an intriguing case, JB. Obviously, a lot of people talking about it worldwide, trying to figure out what happened so far to Gabby and trying to piece together, as the investigation seems to continue on as well, piece together what happened on this timeline, a cross-country trip to all these national parks that they went on together. Probably the biggest development today was the release of the Bodycam video from the police department in Moab, and they released actually a perspective of one of the officers. I think you have it right here. Yes, this was about an hour plus length of video we got to see about an issue here. The van was, at first they thought it was a drunk driver. This officer mentioned in the body cam video, and then the driver, Brian, hit the curb, so they talked about why he hit a curb. But it got a little more detail for everyone else as to some of the issues leading up to her disappearance. Now, that wasn't initially right after that, but there wasn't a fight involved here. They had a disagreement. There might have been some punches or scratches thrown. As you can see, he was injured to the face if you watch that body cam video. So it's very interesting to kind of peer in on that, to learn more about this case and the relationship between the two, between Brian and Gabby. But a lot of people still have a ton of questions. Why is he not cooperating at this point?
Right.
He knows the answers more than anybody as to where she was last seen. And I think that's the number one question at this point people want answered. You know, come forward and say what you know. And if not, are you hiding something? And that's ultimately what we hope to find out in the next coming hours or coming days.
You know, one of our commenters, Josh, noted earlier, there's thousands of missing person cases across the country, but this one has grabbed the attention of people really across the country and perhaps even around the world. And I think a big reason behind that is you can almost envision this, right? And you can envision it because of the social media activity. All the posts that they made on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all these social media platforms, as they made their way across the country, right? How many of us have gone on long road trips and had fun on the road, visited different places? You can almost picture yourself being in a very similar scenario, except something went drastically wrong here on the road, or at least wrong enough to where Gabby is still missing here now. We haven't heard from Gabby since late August, and her fiance, the only person she was on this cross-country road trip with Brian Laundrie, is back here in our area, in our neck of the woods here in Tampa Bay, Florida, at the center of your screen here. This is live from Bohemia, New York. The family's, of course, split between New York and Florida, if you've ever heard of that before. So Brian Laundrie back down here with us, believed to be in the Tampa Bay area here in Florida. Police know where he is, but there's a reason why this story has really captured everyone's attention here across the country, because people just want to know Brian Laundrie isn't speaking, and they want to know why.
And you know, the point of the social media, it's so interesting. I've followed a case on a missing anchor woman. Her name is Jody Husentrut. She disappeared back in 1995. So think about back in 95 when cell phones were not in the hands of every American running around, and there was there was some surveillance video, but it was grainy. You know, these types of things now. In that case, there's nothing to work with, absolutely nothing. When you try to look back at, we wish we had video, we wish we had some social media to follow. This case, you see every step of almost every stop that they made. She even talked about Gabby talked about in the body cam video that she was busy working on her social media, on her blog, trying to piece together that video. And we all know here how much work it is to put a story together, to edit it, to find the clips, to like really make a great production. And that can be a long, stressful, arduous process. So I think that's part of what she was talking about in being so stressed and having to deal with so much, trying to get this blog off the ground and try to kind of showcase what they've been doing every stop of the way. But in comparison to cold cases and to missing person cases, when you look back without this kind of information, it made it a lot harder in the past to solve a situation like this. And not saying this one is going to be easy, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but we do at least have some kind of blueprint as to where they were, the stops they made, and obviously technology is so good nowadays. They can ping the cell phone towers and that sort of thing. So that will definitely aid in this investigation to try to find the answers that we still, the answers to the questions we're still asking.
I've been calling it a social media trail of breadcrumbs that went cold somewhere near Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, 30 miles away from Yellowstone National Park, which is, of course, one of the most well-known national parks in the country. And Yellowstone National Park actually putting out an alert a short time ago and putting out posts on their social media accounts asking for the public's help to find Gabby Petito. Again, the hope is to find her alive. There's a lot of folks out there that are skeptical, and we understand, you know, this is something that has been, you know, continuously, you know, getting more and more dire as far as trying to track down Gabby Petito. And this is someone who's been last on whereabouts is August. Here is the attorney. Let's listen in.
Yep.
I'm Rick Stafford, and I represent the Schmidt and the Petito family. I have a letter that they want to send to Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, and I'm going to read it at this time, and then I'll take limited questions. Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, we are writing this letter to ask you to help find our daughter. We understand you are going through a difficult time, and your instinct is strong to protect your son. We ask you to put yourselves in our shoes. We haven't been able to sleep or eat, and our lives are falling apart. We believe you know the location of where Brian left Gabby. We beg you to tell us. As a parent, how could you let us go through this pain and not help us? As a parent, how could you put Gabby's younger brothers and sisters through this? Gabby lived with you for over a year. She's going to be your daughter-in-law. How can you keep her location hidden? You were both at Jim and Nicole's house. You were both so happy that Brian and Gabby got engaged and were planning to spend their lives together. Please, if you or your family have any decency left, please tell us where Gabby is located. Tell us if we are even looking in the right place. All we want is for Gabby to come home. Please help us make that happen. And that was from Jim Schmidt, Nicole Schmidt, Joe Petito, and Tara Petito. At this time, I'll take some questions.
Rick, what do you make of, or how is the family feeling about the release of this body camera video that shows this fight between them?
The family's not going to discuss any facts or anything to do with the relationship between Gabby and Brian. They were asked by the FBI to not discuss that.
And they talk about how they feel seeing their daughter.
Listen,
Like, she's obviously upset on the video.
the family is devastated. Every day that this goes on, they get more and more desperate. They're at the point that that desperation is turning to anger. They know that the Laundries know where their daughter is, and they will not tell them. That's infuriating. Yes?
Have they been able to locate her cell phone, and when did they become aware of this phone?
I'm not going to talk about what the FBI is doing and what their investigation is. All I know is that the FBI and the law enforcement agencies that are handling this are the best in the country, and I'm sure they're doing a great job.
When did the lawyers last speak to the Laundrie family, whether Brian, Chris, or Roberta?
I know they reached out on Friday the 10th, and I believe again on the 11th, and the Laundries refused to answer those. They stayed silent. And as you know from the Northport Police Department's press conference, I think it was yesterday, that Brian was back in Northport, Florida on September 1st. So that was over a week later. And
Can you provide a little bit more of a characterization of what the message was to the Laundries at that time?
I will not.
Mr. Stafford, just to get a little bit of a timeline, how long was the couple on Long Island before they headed to Wyoming, and where did they go along the way, just so we kind of have an idea more about the trip?
I know they were out here. Gabby's brother had a graduation from a local high school, from their school, and she came up for that to spend time with their family. And then I believe on July 2nd, they began their trip.
When did the parents become aware of the video, the incident on August 12th?
I'm sorry.
The incident on August 12th.
When they become aware.
I'm not going to discuss when they became aware of the videos or anything to do with the videos. Thank you.
Were they aware of the incident? Wyoming. Were they aware of the incident at any time for August 13th, 14th, 15th? Were they aware that that happened?
Again, we're not going to discuss anything about that incident. We were asked by the FBI to not discuss it.
Okay, in regard to the presser today,
Schmidt, can you give us the latest on him? Is he working on some type of a search? A grid search?
Jim Schmidt is out in Wyoming, as you guys know. He felt he needed to be there. We have family in New York and in Florida, and he felt he needed to be out there to be the contact person as well as to do what he can out in Wyoming. I'm not going to get into his specifics, what he's doing, but again, the whole Petito and Schmidt family is doing everything they can to find Gabby.
in regard
Yes.
to the Florida presser, the police chief who gave that today, he said that Landry's lawyer provided some property that they requested. Do you know anything about that?
We don't know anything about that. Again, I'm not going to comment on what the police are doing. I know they're doing a great job. And I just hope everyone, again, pulls together and helps us find Gabby. And again, from what I've been seeing for the last few days, everyone is doing that, but Brian and his family.
In regard to the questions they were asking about ADD, or not ADD, the mental OCD and the conditions or the disorder that she was referring to. Is there any comment on that?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Remember the August 30th text? Is there any other, she had implied she had received a message on August 30th, but wouldn't detail it. Can we talk about that now?
I'm not going to get into the content of the message. I believe that's out there. It could be. But what I will say is that the Petito and Schmidt family don't believe that message was sent from Gabby.
And Mr. Stafford, they were engaged. We had heard kind of varying things, but according to the letter, they were at the time of, as of 2 weeks ago, were they still engaged?
It's my understanding they were engaged, and I know they decided with the pandemic they couldn't have a wedding or the wedding they wanted, so that was put on hold, and they decided to go on their trip instead.
And was the plan eventually to drive back in the van? I know Portland, Oregon was like, I think one of the final destinations, they mentioned maybe California in the Bodycam video, but was the plan to always come back in the van together?
From what I know, they were going to go to Oregon on by October 2nd, and they were going to spend time there. I don't know what they planned on that afterwards, but I do know that since they were supposed to be out there till August 2nd,
Their homes in Florida.
Brian's family knew that when he showed up on September 1st, that, they knew that was against their plan. And again, when the police showed up over a week later, they already had an attorney's name and contact information for the police. So again, we're asking the Laundrie family to come forward and tell us what you know. Tell us at least where to look.
And the August 30th text, I know you can't say what it is, but what about it made it pretty clear to the mom it's not her daughter? Was it just not the way she usually speaks? Can you just characterize it a little bit?
I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say the family doesn't believe that was her with the text. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. And I do have copies of the letter, and I can hand them out.
Thank you.
That is Robert Stafford, the attorney for the Petito family here, with a plea to the Laundrie family. Brian Laundrie being the fiance of Gabby Petito, a plea that pretty much is summed up as, if you have any decency left, please help us find our daughter here. So there's a lot of comments coming in. We have a lot of viewers, Josh, across a lot of different platforms here: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and of course on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. And a lot of people just, I think that there's a bewilderment that has kind of settled in here, that we still have so many questions and so few answers at this stage of where we are now, and this being such a major news story across the country.
Yeah, as a journalist, I can understand and respect anything you say can and will be used against you. That's just the nature of how these things work. As a dad, I couldn't help but be more irate at this other family, knowing that they could possibly have the answers of where my daughter is, and they're not willing to say a thing. I mean, that's just human decency at this point. Why wouldn't they come forward and say, this is the last time I saw her, this is where I dropped her off, or this is where she ran off, or any of that is very suspect. And again, that's possibly why he's a person of interest in this case, according to police. So yes, frustrating that this family has to come forward to try to plead with the other family to get some kind of answers here. And I'm not seeing your questions and comments coming in on the feed, but I got to imagine people are really fired up about this.
Yeah, they are. All right, so we're going to start taking some of the questions and some of the comments here in the Facebook Live comment section. If you've been with us here before on WFLA Now, you know how this works. I say it quite a bit to remind our audience here as to how this works. You can use either of the two hashtags on the yellow stripes on the left and right side of your screens, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh. When we see comments scroll through here in the social media comment section, if we see one of the hashtags, we can animate it, of course, on screen, but not everybody wants their comment to be animated on screen, especially with a story of this magnitude with so many people watching. So if you don't want your comment to be featured or for us to be able to pluck it out of the Facebook Live or YouTube Live or Twitter comment section and put it up here on screen, then just don't use the hashtag and we'll let your comment go idly by. But if you want your comment to be featured, if you have a question that you want to be featured and answered, use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh. The very first one I saw, and it came up here a short time ago, comes from Vicky here, Josh, hashtag HeyJB. Why are his parents not pressing their son as to her whereabouts, being that she lived with them? This is what must be going on in the Laundrie household right now, or really what's been going on in the Laundrie household ever since Brian returned home. Because, again, this didn't go according to plan. Brian and Gabby go on this cross-country road trip, Josh, and then Brian comes back in her van, drives it all the way back to Florida. That's a long way. I'm about to go into Google Maps. I haven't actually looked it up yet. I'm about to go into Google Maps and find out. It's a long way. So it makes the drive back from Wyoming or Utah, that area of the country, all the way back to Florida without his fiance in her van, and pulls up to mom and dad's house and says, I'm home. So there's so many questions here, but to Vicky's comment here, the parents have to know more, obviously, than or more than what we know at this stage.
Well, on that point too, you know, parents are going to genuinely protect their kids, but in the event that something awful happened, we have no idea what happened in this case, but if it could happen a few different ways. If he came home and said they had a fight and she ran off, again, what is the reason you're not going to police? You're in the clear. At least you're helping push forward this investigation. Come back and say there was an accident and something accidentally happened and she's no longer with us. That's a different story, and now there's a problem there. But then how is that explained? How do they protect themselves? Now they're going to be looking for an attorney. Obviously, they already had an attorney lined up according to this news conference. That's something where, you know, it's all speculation at this point. We're not going to speculate, but we're just looking at scenarios where trying to understand why he wouldn't come forward and say something, why this family wouldn't come forward and say something. And again, we're just going to have to wait. Now, we're watching this body camera video, and what was interesting too.
We're going to play it back here for folks in just a second. Yeah.
What I found was interesting is she was clearly distraught, clearly having an episode of some sort where she was obviously frustrated with him, obviously talked about how she had issues with OCD and she had some other issues she was dealing with. So, you know, that plays into this scenario too of her mental state at this point, or her state in dealing with Brian in the vehicle, also dealing with police. I found this, both of them dealt with police fairly well. I mean, they listened, they didn't have any issues with the police. When they were told to go sit in the vehicle, they did. So that's what makes this even more strange into, you know, there's no frustration toward authorities at this point, maybe with each other, but that's what authorities were trying to figure out. Like, how did this escalate to the point where the driving was a little erratic, and there was a problem that eventually had to send them in two different directions, one to stay in the van and one to stay in a hotel.
We had 8 on your side, investigator Masa Saidi on stream earlier in our previous WFLA Now stream, and she explained why there aren't legal grounds at this time to bring in Brian for questioning, because there's no grounds here in Florida to charge him with a crime. Again, there's been so many people, Josh, that have been asking on Facebook Live and in our social media comment section, if he left Wyoming and Utah or that area of the country in the van that was in her name and drove back to Florida, is that enough to bring him in for questioning. That question specifically was asked to Northport Police, the lead investigative agency in this case, and they said no. They don't have enough on Brian Laundrie right now to bring him in. He is a person of interest. He is not a suspect, and he has not been arrested or charged with any crime. We've been
That's a good point. I think the law enforcement will want nothing more than to talk to him. So they're going to look at all avenues to say any laws, if they were broken, we're going to have on him, and we're going to bring him in and question him. Because that's what everybody wants. They want answers from this young man as well as from the family, but they're not getting it because their lawyer knows anything you say can and will be used against you, and they're trying to be as careful as possible in this scenario from their camp. So, yeah, tough situation as you look at it.
We've been playing the clip here, and our audience members who were here with us from our previous stream, they've likely seen this by now and heard of some of this exchange here between officers and Brian and Gabby on the road a short time or several days, of course, before she went missing, before she basically vanished there in the Wyoming, Utah area here. So we're going to play back this exchange here, some of the snippets from the body camera video that was provided to us by Utah Police. We'll be back here in 90 seconds on WFLA Now.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? No. What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me something.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating the two of you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of the gold, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight.
And again, that's from Utah Police in an altercation that occurred in Utah, of course, August 12th, about 13 days before Gabby's last known whereabouts, of course, were known to us. And as we look back at, of course, the timeline now, and we have the full timeline on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We're going to take more hashtag AJB, hashtag AJosh comments here in a moment. But as a reminder, the very latest is here for you on WFLA.com, including that timeline of events. You can download the WFLA app for all the latest updates. WFLA.com is where we have all of the content that we are churning out here on a regular basis as to the search for Gabby Petito. If you're joining us on Facebook Live in particular here, you can click on the link in the description on this video, the link in the pinned comment below. It'll take you over to WFLA.com or your respective television station's website. We're, of course, here streaming to a lot of different television station Facebook pages across our company, Next Star Nation. So very, very aware that we're reaching out to a very large audience in a lot of different places, but we're going to try to answer as many questions as we can. Josh Benson stepping away here. There's a chance new information could be coming in here shortly here, folks, and as soon as we have new information, we'll, of course, pass it along here to you. Let's get, this was something that I was thinking about as well during the press conference. During the press conference, the family of Gabby Petito delivered a message to the Laundrie family and referenced their engagement and hope for their engagement, or I think referenced him being a future son-in-law to the Petito family. And there were a lot of comments that immediately came through in our social media comment section immediately at that moment comments like Gail, hashtag KJB, does anybody seriously think this engagement could possibly continue? And with the story exploding in curiosity the way that it has, and capturing, of course, the fascination of so many across the country, even beyond Utah, Wyoming, Florida, and New York, those 4 states, it's hard to imagine that. But who knows what's going to happen here going forward. But I think that Gail and a lot of our other commenters are very well aware that there's sorry for if some of the activity here in the newsroom. There's a lot going on. It's a very busy day here at WFLA. So, but could the engagement possibly continue? We'll of course find out. Melanie Flowers, hashtag KJB, why are they searching in Wyoming if the text isn't from Gabby? Okay, I'm glad that somebody brought up the final text. The family of Gabby Petito, her mom, Nicole, has revealed that the final text that she received from Gabby towards the end of August was no signal in Yosemite. And Gabby's mom thought that was very, very strange and very, very short and just didn't add up. When you have a long text message relationship with somebody, you kind of know how they talk. You kind of know how they type. You know some of the things. You even notice even certain things with punctuation or emojis. There's certain characteristics that you can notice. And something about those 4 words being text from Gabby's phone to Gabby's mom, those 4 words being no signal in Yosemite, something didn't feel right to Gabby's mother. And now, of course, Gabby's mother has been speaking, and you heard there in the press conference a short time ago, Gabby's mother does not believe that that text message came from the fingertips of Gabby Petito. So this is a big question here. Why are they searching Wyoming if the text isn't from Gabby? Could Gabby be outside of Utah, Wyoming? I think that's why this has become such a massive national news story, is because we don't know that Gabby's in Utah. We don't know that Gabby is in Wyoming. We don't know that this is going on, so or where her location could be. So let's get to some more of the comments that are coming in here, and Josh is going to be rejoining us here in just a second. Ari Ellie here, hashtag KJB, have they searched phone records? Does he have possession of her phone? Can they search his house looking for it? I'll answer that final question here first. They can't search his house until a search warrant is obtained. If there's any news on a search warrant, we'll of course let you know. But as of right, they would need a warrant for the phone. They would need a warrant specifically for that electronic device. And as of right now, I don't think that they don't have grounds to question Brian Laundrie. And they don't have grounds to arrest him, of course. They don't have grounds to, or at least at this, where we are now, 3 o'clock or so in September, they don't have grounds to issue a warrant for the electronic device. But, you know, interestingly enough, we don't know, and there's a lot of questions in here. Gabby's phone is at the center of all of this. It is. It contains tracking information, or perhaps that there's some interesting information from the cellular companies, or Gabby's phone is a treasure trove of information connected to her disappearance, and we don't know who has it. And that's a big question that we have received, of course, here on WFLA Now in our social media comment section here. Josh Benson joining us here, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back, Josh. Let's get to some more of the questions and comments. Actually, one here from Lisa Texter for you. Hashtag, hey, Josh. Can't they find out from phone ping she was not the one to text her mom, since she was close to Florida on the 1st and the text came in on the 30th? So a lot of questions coming in about the phone. We were just talking about how the phone is going to be an enormous key piece of evidence here. We don't know where it is.
That's a great question. And, you know, there's a lot of speculation and just concern over who placed these text messages and where they were. And I think that's all a part of what the FBI is dealing with right now. I think they're piecing together all this evidence and trying to get a pretty firm understanding of where everything was. And like we were talking about before, versus cases in, you know, the 90s versus today, those are the benefits we have now, is ping records, GPS, geolocation, all of this, the online records galore. I mean, all of those things are going to help aid in finding out what happened here. But I think, you know, and I'm curious as to know, JB, maybe you know, because I haven't followed it too closely today, as to how is the search going? Who is out there currently? And, you know, I'm sure since they're not getting any help from the Laundrie family, where was the last place they can actually start looking?
Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, which I did Google, by the way. So That's her last known whereabouts are Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, northwest Wyoming.
Doesn't make it very easy because it's huge.
210,000 acres. It's absolutely massive, vast, and they can search. But we were talking about this on a previous stream, Josh. To say that it's a needle in a haystack is not doing service to a needle in a haystack. It's that minute of a chance that they without an aid like the cell phone, just to find a random person out there in Grand Teton National Park, it's going to be absolutely astronomically hard. I did the Google Maps look up here while we were in that clip a short time ago. 35-hour drive.
Wow.
From Grand Teton. That's straight now. That's if you didn't stop, which of course is impossible. You need to stop for gas and to rest. But
the van too. The FBI has control of that at this point, and they're looking over the van. That's a big thing. I think that is a key piece of the case right now, and to figure out, all right, who was in it at what point, who was driving, who was doing so they can get those answers based on what they have from the van. So that's a good start. But yeah, when you talk about the sheer location in terms of the Grand Tetons, how big it is and how hard that would be to search. Aerial searches with infrared, perhaps, but man, what a job that's going to be. That's why it would be nice and helpful if the family could give them some kind of starting point.
Yeah, we have some sort of, we understand how, sometimes searches can be so expansive. We've had searches in Florida waters where they have to do aerial surveillance, and at times just covering enormous swaths of land can be extremely difficult, especially from the air. So people think it's just so simple. Oh, just drive to Utah, drive to Wyoming, everyone, search parties, get your flashlights, go look. It's not that simple when you're talking about such an enormous area. And as our commenters have been noting here, Josh, we believe, we hope that Gabby's in Utah or Wyoming, but we have no idea really where she is, because now I'm going to go through the states here. Brian drives from Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming, in that area of the country, back to Florida. He crosses through Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. At any point during this, depending on, of course, circumstances pertaining to the electronic evidence and GPS tracking and phone tracking, an argument can be made that anywhere along this route on the way back, that's also a potential search area for Gabby Petito. So. Right. The search area, to say it's expansive, it's large, it's vast, I don't think it's doing its service.
And I think, where it's necessary on the major highways, they have license plate readers, they have cameras.
Sure.
All those things are part of this investigation, I would imagine, at this point, trying to figure out, all right, where did that, in the national parks, it's probably not going to be as good, obviously, but once they get out onto the main highways and maybe on his way back, they could track at least what point they picked him up on a main thoroughfare or a main highway, and got his location from that point forward until he was back in Florida. So, again, I think it's a pretty big investigation, obviously, with very little help at this point, and that's what everybody's so fired up about.
Commenter here, Darlene Brazo, and we're going to start really taking more #HeyJB, #HeyJosh questions starting now here. They need to check cameras along the route. I would imagine, but again, talking about a needle in a haystack, do you know how many traffic cameras that there are along interstates especially, and the amount of footage that they would have to, we're talking about potentially 5 or so days of data that they would have to go through to track down where that van was. And again, needle in a haystack is just not doing it justice. Let's get to some other comments.
I think too, just eyewitnesses. That's usually one of the biggest helps. If people saw the van, or they could think back a day or two if they saw it. But it's so hard to think back. Even take it for yourself as an example. Can you remember yesterday, like what cars you saw? It's so difficult to process that. But if there was some kind of episode, if the two were fighting on the side of the road, or if they were driving crazy down the road, that's something somebody could remember and at least help put a position or a pin on the map, so to speak, so they can find out where they were headed and where they'd been.
Let's get to this one here. So sometimes we see enough questions where we have to address an idea or a concept or a question, a line of inquiry here. And I've had enough questions asked that's very similar to Jake's that we're going to put up here on screen that I think we have to address this, Josh. Jake Bridell, #HeyJB, can we only hope that this is a publicity stunt gone wrong? And I'll speak. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I'll speak on this first. I think that we have gone way past the point where this is even remotely possible as being a plausible publicity stunt. There's been some, I read thousands of social media comments as part of my job here at WFLA, and I've seen crazy ideas like, oh, this was an idea just for them to build up their YouTube blog and their Instagram following, and because clearly,
which has happened before. I mean, people have done stuff like that, maybe not to this level, but they've done some crazy things to get those views.
So this is, I've seen enough questions being asked like this, Josh, that I feel like we should just kind of address it. But I think that we have gone way past the point of no return on this being a publicity stunt. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think definitely Jake, that's a good question. I mean, I think it's a legitimate question given the fact that these guys' social backgrounds are pretty deep. I mean, Gabby was, in her own words, starting a blog and was very active on social media. I mean, I watched the video that they had made together, and it was very impressive. Like, a lot of post-production, a lot of good work that went into it, a lot of great shooting. And, from somebody who works in TV and sees video edited all the time, I mean, it was very well done, and that takes a lot of time and effort. And that's why she said in the dash cam video, or the police body cam video, that she was very stressed. She was been working on this so much. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into that. It's kind of what we do every day here. It's just constant work to get things edited. So I don't think that question is too far off in the fact that some of these people, not saying this couple, but some people who are really hell-bent on getting views on YouTube will go to some pretty big extremes. We had a case here in Tampa not long ago where they were, what was it? They were throwing something at people coming out of a store just to try to get views.
Yep.
They were arrested immediately, but they just go to great lengths to try to get these views. But I think this is too far down the road. Like you said, they would have stopped and said, hey, it's just a joke. Let's wrap this up. But now we're going several weeks into this, and that's a problem.
And we've received some great comments, #HeyJB, #HeyJosh comments here in the last several minutes. We're going to be live here for a little bit longer here based on Josh. Of course, you're going to see him on the anchor desk tonight on WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC Station 8 on your side here in the Tampa Bay area. So, Josh, when you have to escape and prepare for our newscast tonight and our team coverage that's coming that's coming our way here, just let me know, and I'll, of course...
Yeah. I was looking at both of their, and this is just something I noticed, their Instagram handles. I noticed in both of theirs separately, there's a lot of pictures of themselves. On his, it's a lot of pictures of just him, and on hers, it's a lot of pictures of just her. Maybe I'm too old and I'm not with the IG.
Oh, come on.
But is that normal to be, you're a couple technically at this point. It sounds like they were engaged at one point. Maybe they called it off because of the pandemic. I mean, when my wife and I take pictures, it's usually together. There's not a ton of just me or a ton of just her. I just found that to be very interesting.
Without reading too much into it, I don't post many solo pictures anymore. When I was engaged,
strange, right? Kind of weird.
When I was engaged, it was just a lot. That's a very exciting time in your life, right? You're about to get married
this adventure with the two of them. I mean, I would think this is such a great trip. I'd die to go on that trip just to go out there and just get pictures of the landscape, everything else, and to see that, and then just to see each of them separately just take all these pictures. That stood out to me as a little bit strange. But again, may have nothing to do with anything.
I love this comment here from Ted Walford here. Some great viewers on WFLA Now that are really, really paying close attention to the story. Ted here, #HeyJB. Regarding the no signal in Yosemite text, could that have been a call for help? Because Yosemite is in California. 2 days drive, about 16 hours from the Tetons. I thought that they were heading to Oregon. Yosemite doesn't make sense. Okay, we're gonna
unpack it.
We're gonna unpack this here and like pretend time here for a second. Okay, with Ted's comment here for a second. So if the text didn't originate from Gabby and the text did come from someone else, and if Gabby's mom is correct that it just didn't add up, that the no signal in Yosemite text just didn't feel right, to Ted's point, could it have been a call for help? Or if we were going more sinister, Josh, with this idea and this concept, could it have been a distraction? Could it have been false information to send somebody down maybe the wrong road, pun not intended? to say, oh, no signal in Yosemite, just to throw off the scent of Gabby as to where she actually was.
Yeah. It's unknown. I mean, that's
And
what they're trying to solve.
We're here to, of course, share facts and share. But when we get into the comments that we get from our viewers who are asking questions like this, we have to let you know whether or not something is plausible or something that isn't plausible. And here's the challenging part about covering this story. I'm sure Josh would agree that because there's such a massive amount of unknown, everything's on the table right now. And there's theories are being thrown all over the place on social media, left and right. It's crazy the amount of theories that are out there, and you can't really discredit too many of them just because there's so little to go by at this stage in the investigation. It makes our jobs, Josh, very, very difficult because there's just an overwhelming amount of unknown.
But think about the logistics involved in a search. Anytime a person disappears, the amount of logistics that goes into, and the amount of money and the amount of spending, and just to get a search team put together, and the resources from law enforcement covering different counties, different jurisdictions, that is such a job. And I think that's what they're doing right now. But the fact that they couldn't get a starting point from this family, again, is what's troubling to a lot of people and very frustrating, because at the time it could save, because as we all know, when someone disappears, time is of the essence. You need to, there's certain stats on how quickly you need to jump in and get a search going before someone is, the ratio of success of finding somebody. I don't have that off the top of my head, but think about that. Think about how big of a job that is, and if they could just get that starting point, well, it was at mile marker 123 here, and it would be such a big help. But that's why I think right now police are going to try to find every angle to see if there's something they could get him on to at least bring him in for questioning. He hasn't been charged with anything. He doesn't have to answer to anybody at this point. And that's where we're left. And now the lawyers, the attorneys are saying no comment to everything. We haven't heard from the parents or from Brian himself. And as you just heard in the news conference with Gabby's family, the plea is out there again to just say, give us a starting point. Come forward and say something. Don't just stay silent. And that's exactly what this family is doing. They're not saying a word.
I want to let our commenters know immediately when I started to talk about the potential, that idea that the text, the no signal in Yosemite text, was intentionally to throw off family members and investigators. The comment section lit up like a Christmas tree with even jumping off of that and going into more. We're going to try to keep the train on the tracks here, so to speak. I know that there are theories. I've read the theories. There's an immense amount of ideas and concepts that are out there pertaining to Gabby Petito's disappearance. But what we're going to try to do is try to stay as rooted in reality as possible. It's difficult because the reality that we live in right now is so shallow in the amount of facts that we have. But we're going to try to live there, and know we could be here for hours talking about theories and ideas. Oh, this could happen, that could happen. But
everybody wants to solve it in the next hour, and it's human nature at this point.
Let's get to. I love this comment here from Amy Louise. A lot of viewers joining us from outside of the Tampa Bay area. Hashtag KJB. I live in the Teton area. The positive side is we're seeing our peak tourist season. Let's pray someone saw something. Yosemite National Park here in California. I think they're aware of that, Josh, and they put out, of course, the alert on their social media pages. Everyone in this area of the country is looking for Gabby. Knows that picture. Knows that face, and we can only hope that this is true. Let's also paint this picture here for you, folks. There's still hope to find Gabby alive. And as long as the family has hope, we're all going to have hope. We're going to try to radiate that hope as much as possible here because, we see the most common comment that we see here in our social media comment section when we go live with these streams is praying for Gabby to be found safe, prayers for the family, prayers for her to be returned home. And so, again, keeping some of that, let's stay glass half full here and hope that Gabby could be found alive.
And look, I don't know how experienced they were as, people in the campers or whatnot. I mean, I don't know how prepared they were. I know in the Bodycam video, he said he was going to try to go get 6 more gallons of water at that point. But if she had if she had a pack and she had enough water, I mean, she could hold out for quite a long time, given that she knows what she's doing out there, if she happened to have been left. So yes, I would definitely hold out their hope that she is out there, or she could be okay. And I think a lot of people need to keep thinking that way. But what the best part is, they're out searching for her now, and they're out trying to find exactly where she ended up. So that's the good news. But I know police at this point are going to be pressing to try to get some answers, to try to speed up this search, because that's what pretty much everybody wants in this case.
Tom Colombati, we have another 5 minutes here, everybody. We're going to go till 5 past the half hour here. So it's the last call for any #HJB, #HJosh comments. We got to get going here. We got a lot to get to in our evening newscast. Again, WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC station here in Tampa Bay. Tom Colombati, #HJB. I find no charges yet to be crazy. They can charge people for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, but now missing woman and no charges. This is a great point from Tom, because they tell you all the time, anybody can be sued for anything. Anyone can be arrested for anything. That's true in some respects, I'm sure, but Brian Laundrie remains a person of interest and not a suspect. You know, we had Masa on our stream earlier, Josh, and if Brian Laundrie is a free man right now, if he wanted to pick up a plane ticket and fly to another country, he absolutely could do so.
Right.
He could. And so...
But he doesn't look very good in the eyes of the public.
No.
Based on how close this couple was, how young they are, the circumstances of where they were. I mean, this was a very grown-up trip. I mean, they were going across the country. They were stopping at all these places. And great, you know, that's free spirit. That we have the ability to do that in this country and to have as much fun as you can. But then when you come to a situation like this, information is key, and speed is key in trying to find a missing person. And right now they don't have much of it either. So I think and I hope that he'll come forward soon to say something, or they find something on him to force him to come in to say something.
Kim Albright, I think she meant JB. What about his financial information to check where he used a credit card to pay for gas, just to pinpoint where they look? They're looking at all of that. Everything is on the table here. Jim with the magic question, #HJB, any word on why or how he ended up with her vehicle? Seems strange. Yeah, it seems so strange that people have been asking this exact question, Jim, and finding live streams like our own because they can't find an answer or an even semi-plausible, somewhat idea as to why Brian would be here in Florida with the van and without his fiance. It's just everything about the story is certainly bizarre.
And we have to remember, it's his right to be in the position he is in. He does not have to speak. Everybody needs to know that. They cannot charge him with anything because they have nothing on him. JB, as you mentioned, if he wanted to get on a plane and leave at this point, he probably could. So that's frustrating for a lot of people to hear, but that's the country we live in, and you're not guilty until it's proven. And he doesn't have to answer any questions. So, what happens if he went out there and she ran off and that was it? Maybe you would think he would come forward and say that, but we don't know that at this point. So they're not going to comment until they absolutely have to, and I think that's where we're at in this investigation, while the police and law enforcement agencies do their deep investigation and the search continues out in Teton.
Do you want to know how crazy this story has become in the last couple of days? We had a commenter earlier demanding in all capital letters, and it did have a hashtag. I didn't add it to my comment queue here, but
do you get yelled at a lot?
I get yelled at a lot. If capital letters is being yelled at, then I get yelled at a lot. But there was a woman who demanded that we rewrite the U.S. Constitution so that Brian has to talk. I mean, that's how crazy. I don't remember who said it.
That's an overnight job, right?
Right. Just rewrite the U.S. Constitution to find Gabby alive. I understand that there's...
No, that's just deep frustration. Just imagine being her parents. I mean, again, I go back to being a dad. I would be unhinged at this point. So I can understand that frustration, and you look at all avenues. If we could do that, a lot of people may have considered that. But
#HJB from Andy Michael, is the van seized and searched for forensic evidence? Yes, the van is with police. They are combing through it, and we are hoping that it contains actually some clues. Folks, we have to get going here on WFLA now. A big thanks to Josh Benson. You're going to catch him tonight at 4 o'clock. Josh, before you go.
Yeah, we're going to have more at 4 o'clock, so tune in, News Channel 8 at 4. Stacey Scheibel and I will be there, and we have several stories from the reporters that have been working hard trying to gather all this intel that came in today in the newsroom. They're going to have it all buttoned up for you at 4 o'clock, and we'll just await new press conferences, JB, on when the families or either one of the families decides to speak.
That's why we're here on WFLA Now, so that any time of the day when we have an opportunity to share new information on the story, we can do so. Josh, we'll catch you tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Thanks a lot. In the meantime here, folks, what we're going to do is, for those of you just joining us, maybe you're new to the story, you want to hear the clip for yourself, this is the body camera video that Utah police obtained. Or actually, well, they captured it, and it was obtained by us here and many other members of the media. This is from August 12th, a domestic call that Utah police responded to between Gabby Petito there on the right side of your screen and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. Back here in a moment.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
I'm sorry, we've just been fighting this morning. Some personal issues.
It was a long day. We were camping yesterday, and camping got stuff, flies and stuff. I'm sorry I hit the bump there.
I was distracting him from driving. I'm sorry.
Can I get you to step out of the vehicle for me, man?
Yeah.
Just hang tight right there. Do you mind if I take your keys and just put them on your hood?
You got it, buddy. I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, no, you're fine.
This is a very, very important question. How you answer this question is going to determine what happens next. But the only person who can answer this question is you. Think very hard before you answer the question. Do not quickly answer. Think very hard. When you slapped him those times, were you attempting to cause him physical pain or physical impairment? Was that what you were attempting to do to him? What were you attempting to do? What was the reason behind the slapping and stuff? What was it you were attempting to accomplish by slapping?
I was trying to get him to stop telling me to calm down.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like she attempted to injure him. It's your call.
I am separating between you tonight. Okay? I want you guys both to be tonight away from each other, relax, breathe, crying, because there's no reason to be crying now, okay? I understand that this can feel like it's a nightmare, but you're coming out as the golden flower on top of it, okay? So, you're going to be taking the van tonight.
If you feel a sinking feeling in your stomach when you watch that clip and you see Gabby so distraught, and it being in such stark contrast to the YouTube highlights, these highlights that we'll play here on your screen, you know, the highlights of her trip when she looks so happy with Brian, and your heart just kind of aches because you see her on probably the worst day, if not one of the worst days of the trip. You're not alone. It's emotional to see somebody who you just want returned home safely. It's difficult to watch clips like that because you just want them to be found safe and sound, to be returned home to their family and live a long, happy life. And you really hope that this isn't the some of the final clips that we're going to see. You hope that Gabby Petito is found safe. You hope that she lives a long, happy life and continues to produce fun content for YouTube and is able to live out her dream of being she's been described as a free spirit. And we can only hope that she can continue to be a free spirit for many, many years in the hopes that, again, that she's found alive. So, folks, we're gonna step away here for a short time. The next time that there's an update, we're live here with you on WFLA Now. Whether that's a press conference, a statement being released by one of the families, new video that emerges, any wrinkle to this story that gets us closer to finding out what happened to Gabby Petito. We're here live with you on WFLA Now. And remember, our mission statement here always is to feature your feedback and your comments and what you have to say on a particular story. You are very much part of this here with us. It's our entire team here at WFLA, but also all of our commenters too. There has been a lot of interesting conversation here and a lot of moments here on stream that we didn't think about. And we, of course, were so wrapped up in this story, or maybe I can speak for myself, that I didn't think about, but I read a comment from somebody and it's enlightening and it helps us carry the conversation forward. There's a lot of smart people out there, a lot of folks that join us in WFLA Now that are able to help us have a conversation. We really appreciate all of you. We're going to continue to post a lot of articles, a lot of content on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, we're also live on a lot of our sister stations' Facebook pages. You can also click on the link in the description on the video on Facebook Live or in the pinned comment. It'll take you over to that television station's respective website where we have all the very latest reporting. But if you're joining us here in Florida, the very latest on the search for Gabby Petito is on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. All of WFLA now lives within WFLA.com and our app. So if you want updates, notifications, if you want to be alerted to when something is happening in the search for Gabby Petito, you can download our app, you can subscribe for push alerts, push notifications, or you can just bookmark WFLA.com and check it out every now and again throughout the day as we continue to learn more about Gabby Petito's disappearance and all of the questions, of course, that surround it. So, WFLA.com, the WFLA app, the latest on the search for Gabby Petito. I'd like to thank Josh Benson. I'm JB Buno. More ahead in the hours ahead on WFLA.com and the WFLA app.